Hi y'all, it's Charlene from the Crafty Art Shack. We're back here today participating in a challenge video. This is our very first one, so y'all want to check this out. You don't want to miss it. And it's going to be, I'll tell you more about the host and the co-host in a few minutes, but I want you to know there's a playlist of all the ladies that are participating in this challenge, just like me, and they're in that description box. So check out the description box and you'll get to see a whole bunch of videos on the same thing. It's called a Redecking the Halls challenge. So let's get on with the video. Right, here's our first DIY, and this one comes from our video, the bits and bops, and we're going to use some of those bits and bops in this video. The first thing you're going to need is a light switch plate. Then you're going to paint it with the Rust-Oleum Linen White chalk paint. And then I got my stencil that I cut on my Cricut. It says Let It Snow, and I'm going to paint that with gray chalk paint. And then once it dries somewhat, I'm going to peel it off. And if you notice, it's peeling off part of my chalk paint with that too. And the reason why I didn't care if it did it, it was because I want it to look rustic. So the next thing that we're going to do is I've got some cording from one of my husband's DIY projects, and this is the cording like you would find on your seat cushions, and I'm going to just glue it around the edge of this project, and then I'm going to clip it off. I'm going to make this awareness bow out of a little burlap ribbon that came out of my bits and bop bag, and then I'm going to take that twine and I'm going to wrap it around my fingers about 10 times. That came off of another project that we did, and I am going to glue them all down onto the corner of this project. Now, a lot of times y'all don't see me seal these projects because I haven't found a sealer that I can work with. I have allergies. Here it is finished. Isn't that so cute? Okay, you guys, here's the challenge that I was telling you about. It's hosted by Rustic and Lace DIY, co-hosted by 6 Kids and a Glue Gun, and Crafty Hints. There's also a whole group of ladies that are on the playlist with their videos of where they participated in the challenge. Go check it out. The playlist is in the description box below. Here we are with DIY number 2, and this comes from my red truck video. Okay, we're going to use the little flower off of that project, and we're going to take this mouse trap. We're going to take it completely apart. Now be really careful with it so you don't bust your fingers. And I kind of did it pretty fast, but you're going to sand it down on all sides, and then you're going to take a magnet and you're going to cut it and make it into a magnet piece that will fit the back of your sign. Now that Joy sign came off of one of those calendars, and I'm using just regular red paint. It has a little bit of brown on my brush, and I painted that. Now I put the Joy sign on it, and I glued the magnet to it, and now I'm gluing the burlap ribbon to it, and I'm going to do this to the top and to the bottom of this little magnet. It's going to be a refrigerator magnet. I have a daughter that collects these. And then I'm going to take a bow that never made it on that little red truck, but it was in the bits and bop bag from that. And I am going to glue that right onto this project. And then I'm going to take that little flower and glue it on as well. And you guys, this turned out so cute. And there it is, completely finished. We're on to DIY number 3. Now this one comes from our project that we did with the home fall decor blinds. We also did this video with blinds that we made, signs that we made out of old blinds. These are what the blinds look like when we bought them. We also used these bells off of this DIY project of someone else's. The picture that I painted for my granddaughter, and we used the snowflakes off of it, and we also used some parts off of this ice tower. Now the first thing you're going to do is you're going to take your blinds, and I made me a little pattern. I just cut out a rectangle and I put it down and I traced around it, and then I took it off and I cut it out. And after I cut out all my pieces, I'm going to take a sanding block and I'm going to sand this down. You guys, I know this is going fast, but I didn't want to make the video too long. And so once I cut it out, then I kind of clipped the corners to kind of give it that rounded edge. And here I am, I'm sanding all the little pieces, and I tested it out on a piece to see what it was going to look like. And then After I did that, the next thing I did is I took a piece and I slid it down one blind, and I slid it down the center and cut it out. And these are going to be our rails for the sled. We're making a sled. And then I'm going to take my heat gun and I'm going to heat up those pieces. Now I've got them heated up and I'm bending them around. Now you guys, these blinds are great for a lot of projects because you can do so much with them. And you heat it up and you bend it around. I kind of had to hold it until it got cooled off so that it stayed where I wanted it to. Now those are my little rails for the sled. And now I'm kind of laying out the pieces to see where I want them to go. And you kind of see the sled now. I have to cut off the back ends of those pieces down there because it's too long. So I'm trying to decide where I want to cut it at. And then I put them back together and I'm just kind of looking. I'm still gauging on how much to leave left over. And I decided I was just going to leave one ruler width. And so I marked it on that. I just put little dots. And then I took my miter shears and just cut that off. Then the next thing I did is I cut me two little pieces to glue onto the bottom. You guys, I didn't measure this. This was just a piece that was left over. And I'm going to glue them to the bottom side of the sled. Now, I went and got that multi-purpose cement. I've been calling it Fix-All. I read the container the other day. Found out that wasn't what it was. Okay, then the next thing I'm doing is I'm going to put some hot glue down with that cement stuff, yeah, whatever it is. And then I just checked to see what it was going to look like when I turned it over. Now I'm going to take 12 of these little cubes that you get at the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to put them in a bowl with some brown paint, just regular brown craft paint, and I'm rolling them around in there. I put a little bit of water in there so that it would be real soupy like, and I put them in there and shook them up and painted them. That's the fastest way I know to paint them. And then I glued them together 2 by 2. Now what I'm going to do is I cut me some more strips that I cut them in half. Another blind, I cut another blind in half, and what I'm doing is I measured it to make it as long as my sled is. And so I'm going to glue that piece down, and then I'm going to take those little cubes over there, and I'm going to put some hot glue down along that edge and along that edge at the back. And then the next thing I'm going to do is get a stack of those little cubes, and I'm going to stick it right in that glue that I put there, and I'm going to do the same at the back, and I'm kind of turning them so that where the paint's painted on it really good is what's showing, and I put glue underneath that. I did that to both sides. Then I took my front and I laid it there and I put those front cubes on. Now this is where you're going to attach your rails to your sled. So I did the sled part first, and then I did that little piece up at the top, and there we go. That's what you should have at this point. The next thing I did is I went on my Cricut and I cut out a stencil that said there's snow place like home, and I did all of that weeding, and then I put my piece of contact paper over it, and then I'm going to put it on my sled, and then I'm going to pull that contact paper off, and what I'm left with is my stencil, and I'm making sure everything's rubbed down really good, especially in those cracks. Then I'm laying down that little pad there, that feminine pad, because it makes a great place to take off extra paint and you don't get it all over your desk and everything. And so I'm using this little sponge brush. This is linen white chalk paint. Now I've put the paint on, let it dry, then I'm peeling off the stencil parts, and there's what it looks like when it's done. Now I did go up in there and touch it up some because I wanted it to be crisp. Now I'm taking one little cube that I painted white and I'm gluing it to the back of my snowflake with that contact cement. I guess that's what it's called. And if you noticed, I painted me a little snowman on there. I just did him in all white first. That way when he goes on the background, he'll pop. Now, I took another snowflake, and you'll notice I cut a piece of it off. Now, I cut a piece for his hat because I want more dimension to this. And I'm going to paint that piece white as well because, like I said, you want your colors to pop. The best way to do that is by putting a coat of white paint down first. Now I'm going to go in there and I'm going to start painting his little hat in. You guys, this thing turned out so cute. I hope y'all understand what I'm saying. So I painted his hat black, and I decided to paint it all the way up to the top of the sled. Now I'm going to use some lemon chalk paint, and I'm going to paint his nose. Now you guys, that's just a circle, a triangle, and a couple of rectangles for all of those parts that I drew in there. So find you something to make those things, those circles and stuff. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, I'm sorry, I have to talk so fast on this video. Now I'm going to take that piece that I cut for his hat and paint it black. Now, this is my pattern that I drew on the paper first so I could see what I wanted it to look like. And I'm going to draw his eyeballs in. And you just do an arch. And then after you do an arch, then you draw your other arch. Now I'm just filling it in with this black Sharpie so y'all can see what it looks like. And then we're going to take our paintbrush, it's a little bitty flat paintbrush, and we're going to fill the black area in on his eye. And then after that, we're going to go back in and do the other eye. And it's just that simple to paint it. You guys, this thing turned out really, really cute. I really like it. Yep, and I left a lot in here for y'all to see. And then the next thing you're going to do after you paint that black in, then that black is the chalk paint. Now I'm going to take the multi-surface blue paint, and it's in the description box, you guys, and I just put a dab out on my plate, and that's because I only need to paint that little blue line in his eyes. The next thing I'm going to do is I am going to fill in that white part on his eyes because I want it to be more solid looking. If you notice, my snowman is kind of splotchy looking. That's because I wanted it to look like snow. Now I'm going to glue this little piece of ribbon that came out of my bits and bops right here to his hat. And I glue one side down, and then I'm going to go back and glue the other side down. Now I'm not worried that it's too short, or I guess I am worried that it's too short. Anyway, I go put the glue back on it, and I stick it back on there, and I kind of give it, I put the other glue on the other side of it as well. And then you're going to take your little hat piece that you're making it three-dimensional, and you're going to stick it down right across his hat. You don't have to do this step, but I did because of the way I wanted it to look. Now I'm taking my pencil and I'm drawing me in a little mouth. So next thing I'm going to do is take my Sharpie marker, and I'm going to draw it in. And then I'm going to take my black paint, and I'm going to fill in his little mouth. And it's that easy. And then I'm going to take my black paint and go over there under his eyes. And if you notice, I got too much paint there. I'm showing you. I'm going to take white paint and I'm going to touch it up just a little bit. It's always fixable. You can always fix it. If you paint it and it doesn't look the way you want to, paint it again. It's just that easy. Then I'm taking my little brush, or this pink paint, and I'm going to make his little rosy cheeks. And I just kind of blend that in with my hand, with my little sponge brush that has white on it. And then if you get paint where you don't want it, wipe it back off. And then I'm just blending his little cheeks in because I want them to look cute. Now I'm going to take some black paint and make me little eyebrows. And then I am going to take my little Sharpie marker, and that's the ultra fine one, and I'm just going to darken my lines around his eyes. And then I'm going to take my white gel pen, it's made by Uniball, and I'm going to put some details in his hat. And these are like just little details, kind of make it look like snow's hit it or something. And then I'm going to take my little piece that I cut off of my snowflake, and I'm going to glue it down to his hat. And I'm kind of holding it up so that it's not laying flat on my project. And then I put that little bell on there and make me a little twine bow. And then I take the other piece of that snowflake that I didn't use on his hat and stick it on there. And then I take the snowflake and put it on that has the cubes on it. Now I'm going to go on the outline of his face with my Sharpie marker. You guys, the detail is in the finishing of the project. And then I'm going to go, his nose I painted with a carrot orange, and then I'm going to go in with my Sharpie marker and put little dark lines in. And this is just to add detail to it. And this turned out so cute. And I'm going to go all the way around it. And then I'm going to take this ultra fine marker, Sharpie marker, and go around the bottom edge, because I want the top edge to be dark, I want the bottom edge to be lighter, and it just kind of gives it more dimension. And then I go through here and you'll see me adding little dots at some point right there. I'm going to add some little bitty dots with that ultra fine marker, Sharpie marker. And you guys, I love to paint. I don't know if y'all know that or not. I love to paint. I don't do very many painting videos, but I do love to paint. Okay, and then I put some little freckles on his face with that darker Sharpie marker, and I put some little dots up there in his eyes to give him that brightness look, and I filled in that little spot on his mouth and added a few dots there. Now I'm going in between the dots on his nose, and now I'm using King's Gold, and I am going in there, that is by Apple Barrel, and I'm going to paint some highlights on his nose. And then after that, I am going to do something. Oh, I guess I figured I need to put something else back on there with that black. I forgot the dots on one of them. And then I'm going to take a Q-tip, put some of that white chalk paint on it, and I'm going to dot my little sled up because I want it to look like it's snowing. And you guys, if you want more detail than what I gave you in this video, then leave a comment below and tell me, because I feel like I either put too much or not enough in. Here's our little project. It's all finished. This turned out so cute, you guys. And here's our first project, the Let It Snow light switch plate and our little joy sign. Now y'all go put sealer on those things. We'd like to thank our host and our co-host for offering this challenge video to us, and y'all go check out the playlist.
Hello? Anybody home? Why aren't you answering? Anybody there? Okay. Why aren't you answering? Listen, if you want more information, click right there, okay? Do you hear me? That's not the way it's supposed to go. And I didn't do that right. You do what? Hi y'all, it's Charlene. Yeah, it is. Description thing, you know, I messed it up again. Yeah, it is. Yes, dear. That's all, folks. We'll see you later. Bye.